Hello everybody, it's your boy N here. I'm coming at you guys with another YouTube video. So, at least after the patch, let's have another quick look at the Gregs. Has the Gregs changed? Yes, it has. In a positive way? Yeah, it has. The Greg has definitely almost returned to its former glory, which is sad because we had the good Greg and we didn't even know it. So, let's talk about what they've done with the Greg. Now, as far as the unique ability goes, does the big boy reduction still kick in? Yes. However, they buffed the actual DPS on the Greg so much, just by an additional 650 in general. So, you still have the reduction on there. However, the damage overall is still more worthwhile to the point where it's actually viable on using. So, I'm going to quickly talk about other Descendants first, and then I'm going to talk about Serena and stuff like that as well. But Greg currently absolutely slaps. So, let me quickly do it this way. I'll start off by spawning a horde of breach in, run through them with the crit Greg, which this is the Greg I'm running over here. Just going to quickly give you a quick show of what I've got there. I know rifling reinforcement is better for mobs, but I'm focusing on Colossus more, so I'm just going to leave that there. So this is what I'm running on the crit Greg, and then for the multi-hit Greg, the multi one is going to have this on it, along with this as well. I'm just showing you guys, so we've got an equal playing field. Damn dude, do you even sleep? No, lol. So this is the crit Greg pushing through some breach mobs. So yeah, it does work. It's okay and it does work. So for the multi Greg, let's quickly do the exact same test. With the multi Greg, I feel like for Descendants that are not Serena, the multi Greg is a little bit better. But we've got to include the RNG within this. There is definitely RNG within critting and stuff like that, because crit with Gregs absolutely melts as well. There's no denying that. When it comes to basically every other Descendant, it doesn't matter whether you build for crit or whether you build for multi. I'd say multi feels a little bit better though. In terms of DPS, there is a very, very odd grade boundary between what the top end of the Greg is and what the bottom end of the Greg is. So let's switch up the scene and let's go up to Warcrasher. So for Warcrasher, Serena is of course going to be the Descendant that you'd slam a Greg on. Now with Greg and Serena in this specific instance, I've got the multi-Greg over here, and then I'm going to slap on the crit Greg over here. Now, for multi-hit, it is still a viable option. However, when you are using Serena, you will be using this tree anyways. If you really want to go down the multi-route option, you can technically just do this and go with that. But at the same time, I don't feel like that is very much worth it. You'd rather just go up here anyways and keep the tree as it is, because the tree is going to basically allow you to keep going. Now with the weapons loop, with the perforator, the Greg and the dagger, your loop stays the same for the most part and nothing changes. It's just whether do you want the crit Greg or the multi Greg. So now the Greg does significantly more damage. With Serena, even if we use either option, it goes back to almost being what it was before. So let's just do this as an example real quick. I'm just gonna slam on the this is the crit Greg, and I did a 126 million burst just right off the bat, straight up of there. That one was with the crit Greg. Now if we go back and do the multi hit Greg, you'll see this as well. If we do this, the exact same thing, just slam that, start flying, and then boom. Going with the multi, that was 148 million over there. Now, there is a very big boundary between the top end damage of the Greg and the bottom end damage of the Greg, depending on RNG, which is crit RNG. So, the highest I've seen with the Greg in one cycle, or what I'm going to call a cycle, is one burst with Serena. So, something just like this is going to be considered a cycle. So one of these is a cycle for what I'm talking about. The highest I've seen is in a single cycle with Greg was 240 million. That was with like peak crit RNG, I would say. So that is like the main thing that I would say. So crit Greg is definitely the way forward. With Serena, you will be using crit Greg in general because of the way that she works. And I think that there is a definite... This is definitely good. Should the Greg have actually just been changed in the first place? No, they shouldn't have. What they've basically done is spent time rectifying for a mess up that they did in the first place. Greg is definitely better now, and it's gone closer to what it used to be. But at the same time, I still feel like they've done this weapon so wrong in general. Now, I think that with their unique ability, they show more presence with bossing versus mobbing. So they are trying to make Greg more of a mobbing weapon. With this as well, let me quickly show you some Serena gameplay of a wall crasher I ran. Let's pull this out real quick. I'm just going to pull this over here so I can see the files a bit easier. And because I don't want to dox my other stuff for absolutely no reason. Okay, yeah, so this was a wall crasher I ran with Serena too. Again, this is kind of what you just do in wall crasher with Serena. You'll be using her triple weapon loop. So you will be using the perforator, you will be using the Greg, and you will also be using the dagger. You can see here I'm going straight in with the dagger, straight in with the Greg, and I'm running with an Enzo, so tactical acceleration is also kicking in. Then I go over here, we've got tactical acceleration, not tactical, just using the loop with the perforator, and then also using the loop with the dagger too. So in general, Serena as a wall crasher Descendant is like a very, very good option. Solo, you can still hit the loop again. I was asking some of the top Serenas again after running a few hours of testing with them and just running to a few hours of testing against them as well. They were saying Serena is much closer to her 3 billion damage in 1 minute loop again. On average, they were hitting about 2.6, 2.8 billion between that margin. So there's definitely a bigger increase on Serena, and her overall DPS has gone significantly higher compared to after they fucked the Greg over. So that was just one quick example of a wall crasher with Serena that I ran 50 seconds and I got a 1.1 billion in there. So there you go. Easily possible with Serena. It does also depend on your aim and your ancestor and all that other sort of stuff. But for Serena, the build doesn't really change very much, and yeah, Serena is another viable option. You can take increased shield off for shot focus, and this will on average increase your DPS. But the main thing with Serena as well is that you still want to make sure you have 39,000 health. So the main reason I wasn't using shot focus is because the health. The only way you can compensate this is with an ancestor mod that has more health on it. So back and forth. If you want the true peak Greg experience, you need 39k health and you need all of this, yada 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 yada. But essentially the simplest way to put this is the Greg is in a better place. Would I say the Greg is back? I think back is a bit of a strong word, but the Greg is definitely better. As for mobbing, like I showed at the beginning, a little brief section earlier, it is still capable for mobbing, but I wouldn't hold my breath with mobbing with the Greg. You're kind of just setting yourself up for failure. So yeah, you would just go down the whole I'm just going to use the weapon for whatever. Even bombardment and stuff like that is kind of cooked. Serena makes everything broken, but you know what I mean. So yeah, that's pretty much everything in today's video, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you did, please do smash that like button, and if you are new here, please do consider subscribing. I make plenty of videos on the First Descendant, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!